You were on a boat, a refugee boat. It was sunk by terrorists.
Why can't I feel my body?
Mira, your body was damaged. We couldn't save it. Only your brain survived. We made you a new body, a synthetic shell. But your mind, your soul, your ghost, it's still in there.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We're your hosts, Jordan and Kumar, that's me.
And me.
And this week, if you hate animation, if you hate movies from foreign countries, if you hate Japanese people, if you hate thinking about stuff, have we got the movie for you? We're doing Ghost in the Shell from 2017.
Damning intro.
We're not going to discuss the comic this week. If you somehow missed last week's episode, we went very in-depth on that, so just go back and listen to that one, or the first half, or whatever, if that's what you're interested in. We're going to dive right into it today.
Yeah,
I actually don't think these people read the comic.
No, I don't think so either.
I think there's some strong hints in the movie that they did not read the comic.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think people listening may feel as though they've been led here under false pretenses, because this film is probably not an adaptation of a comic, it's an adaptation of a movie.
Yeah.
Specifically Ghost in the Shell.
Yes.
1995.
Yes. With no credit, even in the special thanks, to Mamoru Oshii or anyone else, and yet the comic is credited twice.
I saw that.
At the very beginning and at the very end, there's a repeat of the credit that says, based on the comic Ghost in the Shell by Masamune Shirow, published by Kodansha.
Why would that be? Could it have anything to do with the dominant media franchises of the early 21st century? Comic book adaptations?
Yeah, maybe so. And then no mention of the anime at all, even though, and when this movie came out, I started seeing these side-by-side comparisons.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be like shot-for-shot remake of the anime. It's not that at all, but there are certain sequences that are not in the comic that were invented for the animation, which are in this movie.
We could wrap this up now, because I don't think there's anything in in this movie that's from the comic.
Yeah. You know what, I was about to say...
There's stuff from
I was about to say Ishikawa, but no, Ishikawa's a black guy in this movie. So he's not from the comic. I guess...
there's things from the anime series, from Standalone Complex.
Oh, right, okay. Didn't realize that.
They made it in.
Okay.
Well, the antagonist... So, spoilers. The antagonist, Kuze, is from Standalone Complex. Although he's been combined with the antagonist of Ghost in the Shell 95, the Puppet
Some
Master.
of this stuff might be in Ghost in the Shell 1.5 and Ghost in the Shell 2.
Right, but we didn't read those.
Didn't read those. Maybe there's a Kuze in there? I don't know.
I don't think so, because I looked it up.
Yeah.
And the wiki says that he's from Standalone Complex.
Oh, okay.
It didn't mention anything about the manga.
Got it. There you go. Okay. We'll go with that then. All right. This is directed by a fellow named Rupert Sanders, who directed like Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yep.
And after in 2024 directed The Crow.
Which has almost the worst reputation of any Crow movie.
Yeah. Amazingly.
I think only one of the direct-to-video ones has a worse Rotten Tomatoes score than The Crow 2024.
Wow. Well, we'll probably be coming back around to that one.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Written by a bunch of guys. Ehren Kruger, who wrote Scream 3, which is maybe the second weakest Scream. It's not bad, but it's not great. And The Ring, the American adaptation of The Ring, and 3 Transformers movies.
Yeah, so this is
3 Michael Bay Transformers
movies. Shit adaptations.
Yes, these are all...
Those are all adaptations.
Or sequels of some sort. Yeah.
Yep. One of the screenwriters was William Wheeler. He ends up being credited. He worked on it for about 1.5 years when it was in production.
Okay.
And he said he wasn't even the first person that had worked on it. He said there was like 2 or 3 people before him that had worked on it. And he said he reckoned 6 or 7 people eventually contributed to the screenplay in some way, shape or form, although there are only 3 credited, I think, in the eventual film. This is never a good sign.
No.
A movie made by committee is never...
it's actually true. Most movies go through a lot of writers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You see it over and over, but I can't help but feel trepidation when I see...
Part of it is that the Writers Guild, like the Directors Guild, only allows a certain number of names to appear on screen to, quote-unquote, preserve the integrity of the craft.
Yeah.
They have to make it look like it's still an artistic vision of one or two minds maximum.
Because we associate it with quality. And this film is not quality.
Yeah. So we start with 2 minutes of studio logos. And then we get a title card which says, in the future, the line between human and machine is disappearing. Advancements in technology allow humans to enhance themselves with cybernetic parts. Okay. You can just show this in the movie.
Yep, we don't need
You don't need a card. It's really, maybe if your aunt's watching this or something and she really needs it to be explained to her humans are getting mechanical parts.
We're in 2025. Whose aunt hasn't heard of cybernetics? Prostheses. Computers.
Yeah.
This isn't the 80s.
Yeah, even my mom. I could just say, imagine, Mom, if your phone was actually implanted in your arm instead of you using WhatsApp by scrolling through it or something like that. She could probably understand. I don't need this title card here.
Yeah, this is not... We already know that this film is not treating us with any respect.
That's right. We are dummies. This is a movie for dummies. Okay, now we get another title card that says there's a company called Hanka Robotics, which is funded by the government, and they are working on a military operative, is the word that's used, that is going to blur the line even further. So some sort of real machine-human hybrid that they want for military operations. And to do that, they're going to transplant a human brain into a synthetic body. So the first big difference in this movie, it starts with when the titles play, we get a replay of the manufacturing sequence from the anime.
Yeah.
Lots of almost identical shots in there. It looks pretty cool.
It does look cool.
Interesting to me, though, that at this stage, this is 6 months after the Westworld series has started. Now, this has obviously been in production before Westworld ever came out, but they're in a bad luck situation like Judge Dredd in The Raid. Like, oops. Like, now we've got this thing that just looks like Westworld. But we get the manufacturing scene. She even comes out of the milk that like flakes off of her when it dries.
It actually looks pretty good.
It does look pretty good.
We get a sort of, before that sequence begins, which is, again, more or less identical to the sequence in the beginning of 95 Ghost in the Shell, which is not the last time something will be repeated from shot for shot from Ghost in the Shell 95. We actually get a brief sequence where we can see someone on a stretcher. I think we're getting their point of view. Someone on a stretcher is being wheeled frantically, urgently through hospital corridors. This is a pretty standard kind of sequence or trope or visual perspective from any kind of film. You know, like the body on the... except the people wheeling the trolley are sort of all freaky. They're wearing like full body coverings with a strange display over their face.
Everyone's
got too much shit on them.
Actually, I don't mind. All the wettest stuff for this movie looks good.
I agree up to a point.
I think that
I'll get to.
I think that anything that had to do with people or interiors is pretty good. I think the exteriors are terrible.
Yes. Yeah, that would be my objection.
So my thing is all the stuff that Weta built, all the like robot arms, probably that woman, the technician that has her eyes like flip up over, that stuff I was all cool with.
Everyone's got a bunch of crap all over them. It reminds me of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Everyone's just got shit all over them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these guys have shit all over them. And there's a voice over.
Yeah.
I've written this down. There's a voiceover telling us what, like, I have no idea who's speaking.
Yes.
Someone's saying, begin cerebral transfer procedure. Yes. Pulse is dropping. It's like, who's saying this? Mm-hmm. Who's saying it?
Yeah.
No one is talking.
It's one of the people pushing the gurney.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, okay.
Well, it could be, but it sounds like the voice is directing whoever, the people pushing the gurney.
Right.
It sounds like an omniscient kind of, but it's never addressed.
Right.
And I can't help but wonder, like, it could, I think either option is bad. It was either in the script, in which case, dumb, because who's speaking, or it was ADR'd in, in which case, we didn't understand why a person might be in a hospital.
Yeah.
That there's a relationship between this person on the trolley and the cyborg that we see in the very next scene being assembled. They think we wouldn't get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that we couldn't put that together later when it's literally explained to us that that's what happens.
We gotta talk about this. So, okay, after the robot wakes up, we see it's ScarJo with a CGI body. Many scenes in this movie, it's her head with a CGI body.
Why would you do that? You cast Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Well, okay, so she wakes up, she's having trouble breathing, and then her doctor there, Juliette Binoche, holy shit, what is she doing in this movie? One of the great actresses of our time is here. She's the main doctor who has done this transplant. Her name is Dr. Ule. And she said, basically, we learned through this interchange with ScarJo, who's waking up in this bed, that she was in a boat. She was in a refugee boat, which was sunk by terrorists. Did terrorists usually sink refugee boats? I had a question, but now this is revealed to be some other stuff later on. But immediately I was like, I don't know if terrorists... Does that happen? Is there incidents of that? I guess there must be.
It's not an obvious target for terrorists.
No.
They tend to target infrastructure of the wealthy and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were...
Sort of hitting...
So let's say... I'm trying to figure this out. So let's say you were in some war-torn country and you're fleeing to... I guess this is set in the States, I'm not sure.
No, I'm pretty sure it's set in Japan.
You think so? None of the signage is in Japanese?
No, I know, which... Wow, you know, it never occurred to me that it might not be set in Japan.
Oh, but there's a prime minister.
Yes,
so it has to be a
American.
parliamentary system.
Okay,
they're in Canada. Okay, refugee boat is off the coast of Vancouver. Now, the terrorists from whatever country go all the way from where they are to attack this boat of escaping refugees. It didn't quite add up to me. Anyway, there's reasons this was explained later on. Maybe or excuse it. I don't know what they were.
I doubt that it was deliberate.
Okay, she says, but her name is Mira, the ScarJo's character. Her name is Mira Killian?
I don't even remember.
You know what? Oftentimes her name is Major. She says, my name is Major.
Yeah.
As if it's not her rank.
Yeah, and people will call her that too. They'll call her Major.
Yeah, and everybody else is referred to by their name, never their rank.
And also they don't call her the Major. They call her Major.
That's right.
I'm going to find Major.
I'm going to find Major. And she says, my name is Major.
What? This film cannot make up its mind what her name is.
No. Okay, anyway. Here's the best part of the whole movie. Juliette Binoche is trying her damnedest to read this material. She says, why can't I feel my body? She says, Mira, your body was damaged. We couldn't save it. Only your brain survived. We made you a new body, a synthetic shell. Out of your mind, your soul.
Your ghost.
Your ghost. It's still in there. 6 minutes into the movie, we've had a very explicit explanation. In case we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Why is this movie called Ghost in the Shell? Imagine reaching an hour and 45 minutes into it and being like, why was that movie called Ghost in the Shell?
They don't want us to be in any doubt.
Don't be in any doubt. The words ghost and shell are used in the first 5 minutes of this stupid movie. Okay. So now, we
see our antagonist.
Right, this guy named Cutter, who's the head of the Honka Robotics.
Yep.
Now, we're told from the opening title card that Honka is employed by the government or they're funded by the government to create a military operative.
Yeah.
Okay, now we get some more weird dialogue from Juliette Binoche. I can't remember. Ule. She's like, she says, a machine can't lead, it can only follow orders. A machine can't imagine or care and intuit, but a human mind, as a human mind in a cybernetic frame, Mira can do all those things and more. The first of her kind.
Go on.
Okay, so I do think a machine could probably lead, and I think they're trying out these systems right now to some extent. Anyway, that doesn't matter, but the point is, it's very... Then he's like, I want her in Section 9 immediately.
Yeah, okay.
And she's upset about this. And I'm like, wait a second. You work for this corporation. You know what you're here to do. You know you're building a military mission. Why is she surprised that he wants to use her as a weapon? He's not repurposing her. He is purposing her for what she was built for. In fact, this is
probably an improvement. Well, we're never told what Section 9 is here.
Yes.
Much like last week.
Yeah.
However, unlike last week, it's a big problem here. Right. Because Section 9, unlike the one we saw last week, we just knew it's a government department or a government agency that does government stuff.
Yes.
Here, Section 9, it seems to be in some kind of relationship with Hunker Robotics.
Yeah.
So Hunker Robotics seems to be calling the shots here. So Section 9 is interacting with Hunker Robotics, and they seem to have some kind of jurisdictional overlap.
Yes.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I need to know what Section 9 is if it's interacting with companies and taking orders from them.
Yeah.
This happens again and again. At one point, the Major says to Batol that she calls him a company man, but he works for Section 9.
Yeah.
Is Section 9 Hunker Robotics, or is it the government? The head of Section 9 is Beat Takeshi.
Yeah.
With a fucking ridiculous haircut.
Yeah. Yeah. They've tried to give an Aramaki haircut.
They've tried to give him Aramaki's haircut. It's Aramaki. He says over and over that he only speaks Japanese in this movie. He's the only person speaking Japanese.
Yes. In a great mumblecore Japanese that's unintelligible. And I was rewatching the Netflix Daredevil, and none of those Yakuza actors speak Japanese. And it's really obvious you're hearing them. These are actors that are reading their lines phonetically. And
That's pathetic.
It's like really bad kind of mumbling. But then I watched this, and it's Beat's typical mumblecore, where you just like, what is he saying? By the way, but every time he calls her major, he uses the Japanese word for her rank.
Really?
By the way. Yes, Shosa, I think it is.
Oh.
So he thinks it's her rank, even if other people think her name is Major Mira Gillian.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah.
Okay.
So, a big mess.
Yes.
All right, but to rewind.
Yes.
As you were saying, Dr.
Ule.
Dr. Ule, Juliette Binoche, why does she have a problem with... We've been told specifically that they're trying to make... They call it a military operative. I presume they mean soldier.
Yeah.
Like War Machine.
Yep.
They want to make a soldier. First of all, why didn't you assign it to the military? To do military stuff.
Yep.
Instead, it's being assigned to... And I think Section 9 might be an anti-terrorist thing.
Right.
Because we later find out that ScarJo's memories of being sunk by a terrorist were put in at the insistence of Cutter.
Yeah.
So that she will be more angry at terrorists.
Yes. This is wildly contradicted by the end of the movie. Wildly!
Yeah.
There's a huge plot hole here, which I cannot understand.
I don't even know where to start. I don't know. Maybe I should have plotted out how I was going to talk about this dog's breakfast of a movie. One more thing. What you said where the Major is going to be the first of her kind.
Yes.
Like that a human brain in a robot body is something new.
Yes.
It treats it as a new creature.
This is a big, huge difference from the manga and the anime.
Very much so.
She's the very first one, whereas she's a mass-produced model.
Yes. That was an important part.
And the whole team has cybernetics, except maybe Togusa. We thought maybe Togusa was mostly human or whatever, had very few enhancements.
Yeah, he only had like the mobile phone in his head.
Right, that's right.
That was all he had.
Yeah, he had the I/O ports maybe in the back of his neck. Yeah,
that was it though.
Yeah,
he was otherwise unenhanced.
Yeah.
So people are on a kind of enhancement spectrum.
Right.
You got the super enhanced people, and you got the very little enhanced people. And the question is, what is the meaning here for broader people? What's the meaning for people if we replace more and more of ourselves? You know, what happens to human identity?
Yes.
Can you lose yourself? All kinds of questions like that. That's all been tossed away.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
And now it's like Frankenstein.
Yes.
Except that's giving it too much credit.
They tried to tell us at the beginning that the line between human and robot is blurring, but
no one else has that problem.
Nobody...
The Major's problem in Ghost in the Shell 95, and to a lesser extent in the manga, is a problem that anyone can have.
Yes.
It's basically a human problem.
Yes. She might be a ship of Theseus, because she doesn't know if even her brain has been replaced.
Yeah. Sure. Here, though, it's more like the Major is an experiment.
Yes.
And this experiment's going rogue.
Yeah.
This is much less interesting.
Oh, yeah. There's no questions being asked.
No. Well, there are questions being asked, but they're boring questions. And in fact, I think
there are questions that were answered by Blade Runner.
Exactly. Or not even Blade Runner is obviously an influence on this film, I would say. But I think even more important, I'm getting into this a little early. We haven't even talked about the plot.
Yep. Do it.
I'm just going to jump right in.
Do it.
This film feels like a superhero movie, like a Marvel movie.
Oh, 100%. 1,000%. Especially the opening and ending scene when we see her on the roof and she's reading all these signals coming in and trying to find the crime. We've seen that in like Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. And at the very end, she's crouching on a rooftop, giving us a VO and looking out over the city. Exactly.
Like
Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, all these movies.
This is a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Or a superhero movie with a cyberpunk aesthetic.
Yes.
Gently layered on top.
Yes, you nailed it. Yeah.
And here we come to the question that the movie asks. The question that the movie asks is, who am I? Okay?
Yeah.
Like Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the central mystery of the film.
Yeah.
If Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell 95 are not who am I, they are what am I?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of a thing am I?
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm real, if my
Yes.
memories... How can I trust my memories? What kind of thing am I?
Yes.
With the changes that have happened. Here, that's gone. Major is not wondering what she is.
Yeah.
What is driving her through the film is who she is.
Yes.
She wants to discover the past that the baddies have taken away from her.
Yeah.
So this is the very stale...
Yeah, I've seen this 100 times before. I can't remember quite where, but I was like, this is just a very
stale
Hollywood
idea.
template.
And it's a very personal thing. Like, I have to get my past back from the baddies, and then everything will be fine, because then I will know who I am. I'll have recovered.
Yeah.
There's no change or growth. You're just...
Yeah.
You've just found
And I do think
who you are.
they're trying to address the question, and I guess it's also in Blade Runner, but let's say, are you your memories? Is the question. So you remember a bunch of stuff, and that is what has formed your personality, but what if those memories are implanted? Does that negate your personality? I guess is sort of the question of those movies. And this movie, through a couple of sentences, tries to maybe ask that, but is not...
It doesn't.
It doesn't explore it.
It doesn't. It parrots dialogue from better films.
Yes.
Specifically 95.
Yeah.
Ghost in the Shell 95. But never engages with the questions. And in fact, contradicts itself frequently.
Yes. We'll get to that.
So forget everything. Forget everything about philosophy. Forget everything about the nature of memory or existence.
Yeah.
The Major's just trying to get her memories back from the villains.
Yes. So 1 year later, she has now reached the rank or name of Major. And we get the scene I described where she's on the rooftop listening to all these transmissions. And it's a bit like her standing on the roof in 95. And then she hears there's a dinner happening with a head of robotics of Hanka and this guy from the president of the African Federation or something like that. They're having a dinner together, and she figures out that there's an assassination that's going to happen because their conversation is being listened in on or something like that.
Something like that.
So she, much like in the anime, she strips off and does a swan dive off the roof.
Yeah.
Here she wears a kind of skin suit that turns her invisible.
I'm not sure. Is that her body or...
No, it's not her body.
How
Because
do you
can see the lines where her neck and hands are, but that raises the question of how does her face or hands become invisible. But in the anime as well, you didn't know how she strapped on a gun when she was invisible. Like, how's that invisible? So I guess it's kind of the same flaw in both.
Yeah. I remember that about the gun, actually, thinking how that worked.
Yeah.
I guess it maybe it can expand a certain extent, but that hardly matters. But I thought that was her body.
I really thought about this a lot, and I looked at it, and it looked like there were clothing seams where her neck and hands were.
And in fact, we get a scene, again, it's aping a scene from 95, where she strips off her wetsuit on the boat.
Yes.
And it's clearly Scarlett Johansson's back.
Yes.
And I remember looking at that thinking, how come Scarlett Johansson has skin now?
No.
And earlier she
That's right.
had a
That's
robot.
an invisibility suit.
Well, that's just... How does she get in and out of it? It looks skin tight.
It looks very uncomfortable, for sure. But there are several shots in the movie where it's not her in it. It's her face on a CGI thing.
I don't know, because later on they're rebuilding her body after she takes that damage.
Yeah.
And her body looks pretty much like that suit. It's that translucent white plastic.
Don't know.
I think the film just is too lazy to care about consistency.
Don't know. Okay, anyway. At this dinner, they've got these robo-geishas. One of them is played by Rila Fukushima, who has no lines, is only in this scene, and then is replaced by CGI, but for some reason is listed in the opening credits. Meanwhile, Michael Wincott, who is the head of robotics, our our fan favorite Canadian actor from The Crow.
Yes. I wondered
He's uncredited in this
He's
movie.
uncredited. Amazing.
Why is Rila Fukushima in the opening credits with no line? What is going on in this movie?
Do
It's
we
so
see
strange.
Rila Fukushima, or is she just the template that the geisha are based on? Do we actually see her?
No.
I know why
don't know.
Rila Fukushima is in the credits.
Okay.
And Michael Wincott is it.
Okay.
Would you like me to come back to it later?
Yeah. Well, if you got me, let's make sure we don't forget about
Oh,
it.
I won't.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
By the way,
Top dollar in The Crow. When I saw him, I thought, I wonder if Kumar will pick up on this.
Yeah.
That's top dollar.
yeah, because but as I mentioned, that I know him best from Alien 4. Like that's my sharpest memory of him, even
So
more
funny
than The
seeing
Crow.
him show up.
By the way, we haven't talked about the fact that this is ScarJo in this.
Well, I will, and it has to do with the Rila Fukushima.
Well, Rinko Kikuchi is right there. Hire that actress. Why? I can totally see the wheels turning in these cigar chomping executives' heads. They're like, nobody's going to come see a $70 million movie or $120 million movie, how much it costs, starring a Japanese actress. We need a star.
Yep.
Well, did that star make this a hit? No. So you made the wrong choice.
Yes, exactly.
Hire Rinko Kikuchi, you idiots.
Yep.
She looks the part. She's a great actress. She could have easily done this.
Yep.
And done it with some emotions. I don't understand why the Major has no emotions.
Yeah.
She is supposed to be a human brain that can intuit and care as all these things that Juliette Binoche told us. She does none of those things. She never smiles, never laughs, never looks sad, never looks angry.
I know why.
Just has a blank expression on her face.
I know why. Because the Major in 95 didn't.
Right.
Except that Major was emotionless because she was feeling more and more disconnected from
Right.
her humanity.
Yeah.
This one, there's no thematic reason for her to behave like that.
Yeah.
This film over and over makes these kinds of choices, aping, simulating
Yeah.
things from this other movie without understanding why the movie made those choices.
Right. Right. Okay, so this geisha robot, the Rila Fukushima robot, freaks out and attacks the Michael Wincott character.
He's called Dr. Osmond.
Dr. Osmond. And she turns into this kind of cool, like, J-horror spider thing that crawls backwards on all fours.
Why do you need them? Yeah, okay, yeah. This thing seems already kind of badass already.
Yeah.
Why do we need...
Yeah, then
Why
these
do we need the Major?
Right, and then these assassins show up, and they shoot up the room as well. And then I'm not sure who the assassins were working for, but then when the Major shows up, she breaks through the window, which is a aquarium. Yep. That's taken from the movie, not from the manga.
Not from the manga. Although we do get the repeat of the briefcase guns.
The briefcase, yeah, but actually the briefcase just pop out of the briefcases don't transform into the guns. Briefcases just open and they pull guns out of them, as if it was Reservoir Dogs or something.
Right.
There's not a transforming effect.
Yeah, it's less cool than...
Yes, it's less cool than the animation, sure. So, Major kills this robot, the Rila Fukushima geisha robot.
Yep.
And as it's dying, it says in a male voice, collaborate with Honka Robotics and you will be destroyed, or something like that.
Collaborate with Honka Robotics and be destroyed.
Right.
Which, with the machine distortion, to me, the first time I heard it sound like collaborate with Honka Robotics or be destroyed.
Right.
So if you're watching this movie without subtitles like I was, you can get a completely different perspective on what this robot's agenda is.
Yeah. Now, ScarJo's arm has been damaged in this fight, and she sees the geisha's robot face, and she starts looking at her arm like she's got questions. Bato's like, don't question yourself. That thing's just a robot. You're not like it. Okay, it's been a year. Has she never seen a robot before or killed a robot?
Yeah. She must see robots all the time.
Why is this the moment?
Yeah.
Has she never been damaged and seen her own machinery before? What is going on? Why is this the moment where she's like, gee, I feel weird. Am I a robot like that thing?
This film has no respect for us. Incidentally, so Bateau has showed up with a crazy, a kind of big Caucasian bloke with a crazy shock of white hair to look like Bateau in that. But without cybernetic eyes here.
No, because we get the origin of the eyes. Because didn't you want to know the origin of Bato's eyes? When you read the comic or watched 95, weren't you like, I want to see the origin of that guy's eyes? Just like when you watch Star Wars, did you want to know why Han Solo called Chewbacca Chewie?
Yeah.
God, I need to know the origin of that. Better make a movie about it. That's why we get a moment here where we see how Bato gets cybernetic eyes. Even though other people on the team have cybernetic bits.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
We definitely didn't need to know how
origin
Bato
story.
got his eyes. But yeah, superhero tropes. This is the origin movie, right?
Right.
Incidentally, Bato is played by Pilo Asbæk,
Okay.
who is a Danish actor.
Okay.
Best known to genre fans as Euron Greyjoy from Game of Thrones, also known as Captain Fingerbum, after his most notorious line, where he asks if Cersei Lannister likes a finger in the bum.
Which one is Euron?
He's the one that dies fighting Jaime Lannister in the penultimate episode.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, he's completely forgettable.
Okay. Yeah.
Except for his line about...
Right.
Sorry. Feel free to cut that.
No, I'll leave that in. That's how we'll remember him. So, we cut to the next morning. The Major's waking up in her bed. This is shot for shot taken from the anime.
But vastly
except with
inferior.
Yes, it's inferior. We don't get the silhouette of
Yeah.
her going into the bathroom and coming out.
Yeah.
And we get a very confusing shot where she sees what I thought was a holographic cat, a malfunctioning hologram of a cat, because this is a world with holograms in it
Very
that are
much so.
glitchy.
Yep.
Later on in the movie, there's a bar scene where people are watching bar fights and strippers, but those not bar fights, like MMA fights,
Yeah.
and strippers are holograms that are like glitchy sci-fi holograms.
Like a Star Wars style.
Right. So I see this glitching cat. I'm like, okay, that's a sci-fi hologram that's not functioning. She's got a pet hologram cat for whatever reason.
Yep. Blade Runner.
Yes. Yes.
But no, it's not that. Nope.
Yeah. No, we learn later what it is, but it takes a long time. Anyway, she goes into briefing at the office. We learn that a bunch of Honka Robotics top people have been murdered, and this same message has been left. So, now...
nothing much happens here except we get a line from Beat Takeshi Aramaki in one of various lines about what we could laughingly call the theme of the film.
Yes.
Where he says, "When we see our uniqueness as a virtue, only then do we find peace."
Yes.
Completely meaningless line that goes nowhere.
Could not understand what it meant, really.
Nothing.
Find peace? Is she not able to find peace? Maybe as the whole team. What does it apply to the whole team who only have partial cybernetics? I don't know. Anyway,
in the very next scene, we keep seeing the beagle from Innocence.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know why this beagle keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we get a scene in a car with Bato,
Yeah.
where they're talking about memories, and Scarjo says that she can't remember anything and it bugs her.
It's in a fog, she says.
Yeah, she has a fog.
It feels like it's covered in a fog, yeah.
Yep, she doesn't remember who she is.
Yeah.
And Bato expresses a belief that he thinks that's good. He says he's tormented by his memories, and he says, "It is better to be pure like you." Okay, so I don't know how this line relates to uniqueness being a virtue. Then Scarjo arrives the Major arrives in the lab with the doctor.
Yeah. To get her arm fixed up.
And the doctor offers another rationalization.
On the way, she sees, in the street, she sees again, what I thought was a hologram of like a shrine.
Right.
Like a Japanese shrine, and it's glitching.
Yeah, but we get a music sting here that implies that maybe
she looks confused, and I was like, why is she confused about, there's holograms all over the place. What's the problem with this one?
Yeah.
Couldn't quite figure it out.
Unlike the cat one, though, we get a music sting here that implies something is wrong.
Right, okay.
Plus, as you said, she looks confused.
Yeah, and then she gets there, and Juliette Binoche is like, she explains that she's been glitching, she's been seeing stuff like this pagoda, like this little shrine. So Juliette Binoche is able to go in there and just erase that stuff. By the way, this all happens. That's how they do stuff in Westworld. They have an iPad that they just erase memories out.
I haven't seen Westworld, but I've seen the original with Yul Brynner.
Yeah.
But I've not seen the new one.
Yeah. So just unfortunate timing for this movie.
Right.
It's just another thing.
Hilarious.
Okay, so going through the streets look terrible.
Yes.
Now,
awful.
I have to say, the video game Cyberpunk 2077 came out only 3 years after this, and looks great. It looks like a really fully realized world. And it looks like real streets.
Yeah.
And all these real suburbs. this is a really brightly colored world, and it's obvious, just an obvious green screen that's like 10 meters behind the actors at the most.
It's funny because so many other scenes are so drab in comparison to the anime.
Yeah.
Like that silhouette scene where the Major's lying on a bed in front of a silhouette of a city.
Yeah.
And it's completely black and she's a silhouette. In the version we get in the film, she's lying on like a glowing bed.
Yes.
Like an LED bed.
Yeah.
So the light's all wrong.
Yes.
The focus is on the bed.
Yes. Well, I can have a whole discussion about beds in this movie, because why is Juliette Binoche sleep on the floor with a blanket on her with no mattress?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is going on?
I don't know what was going on there. I just assumed maybe I don't even know. Future habits. You sleep on the floor.
So strange.
Or maybe I don't even want to go there.
Okay. Yeah.
But
the cityscape.
yeah, so it's ugly, it's awful. It doesn't look lived in.
It looks fake. It looks so obviously CG'd.
It's such a shame because instead it's just added, and there's all this shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like ads.
Yes.
They're holographic ads, except they're really obtrusive.
Yes.
Completely spoiling. Like they do not look.
Yeah.
There's no depth to them. They're just like slapped on.
You know what they were trying to do, Blade Runner?
Yeah, but in Blade Runner they look organic in the sense that they flicker.
And you know what, the movie that did the best expansion on that idea, because we had Blade Runner, that was, okay, we're talking Reagan era, right?
Yeah.
All the ads are coming in.
Yeah.
They've lifted, the Reagan administration's lifted all these regulations on advertisements.
Yeah.
And so we got all this stuff.
Yeah.
Then we had Minority Report. And in Minority Report, you get the ads that recognize you and address you specifically.
That was prescient.
And I was like, yeah, that was something else. And that's also Philip K. Dick, right? Somehow they both got to the same destination without planning it. But why is this here? It's just like they're just trying to populate. It's like they said they used an AI and said, please populate this with advertisements.
Every inch of space with stuff.
Yes.
It couldn't be more different from the organic, low-tech cityscape of Harbour City or Port City or whatever, Newport City from 95.
Yeah.
Which is the cyberpunk, one part of the cyberpunk aesthetic is you have high life and low life.
Yes. That Hong Kong area in 95 looked like current day. There was almost nothing in there that was like from the future.
Yeah.
Really? Was there? I can't remember anything.
No, nothing. It's just signage and kind of like old buildings and neon, which is already there.
Yeah.
Here, though, it's like you feel like the arts team are being told by some cigar chomper in a suit, this is the future, put more shit in.
Yeah.
Where's the holograms? Put a hologram there.
Yes.
You got some blank space there. Stick a hologram in it. It's ugly, it's crowded, it's awful.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about what Dr. Ule says to the Major at the lab, the Hanka Robotics lab.
After Major the Major consents here, hacking the Major's ghost, a high crime in 95 or in the manga, fiddling with someone's ghost was a terrible kind of offence. Here the Major, like Dr. Ule is just doing it.
Yeah.
The Major consents.
Yeah.
Like, we have this odd line that is repeated a few times through the film, which is, my name is so-and-so, and I consent.
And I consent. Yeah.
I guess maybe they thought it would be badass when later on she doesn't consent.
That's right, yeah.
But anyway, then the...
there's some stupidity about the badness of this line about consenting, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. So, she wipes her brain.
Or the glitches. Wipes the glitches.
What she calls the glitches... But we know are more than that. And she tells her not to worry about them too much because it is what we do that defines us. Okay. What we do is what defines us. Okay, not memory. So I'm getting echoes of Total Recall here from the Verhoeven film.
Right.
Where Arnold is told by
also
Quato,
Philip K. Dick.
Yes, it is Philip K. Dick. That's
Philip K. Dick was hitting all this memory stuff.
We can remember it for you wholesale.
Yeah.
Quato tells Arnie that he doesn't need to get his memory back because it's what you do that's important.
Yes.
So Dr. Ulie is giving this line to ScarJo, and it's not a line from a villain because ScarJo repeats it again at the end of the film.
Yes.
As kind of like her raison d'etre.
That's right.
Unfortunately, everything she does in the film is the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
The only thing she cares about, and the thing that gives her resolution, is rediscovering her memories that have been kept from her.
Yeah.
So it's not what you do.
Yeah.
It's who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so they had found out in the briefing that the bad guy was named Kuze. They don't know who this person is or where he is.
Yep.
But while they're at the Hanko lab, the robot geisha is being worked on by this other doctor, Dr. Dahlin. This lady who smokes
I noticed
in
that.
the office.
Why are you smoking?
Strange
Not just
choice.
smoking in the office, you're smoking in like a sterile lab?
Yes.
Where you're working on...
I guess
You're
it was
doing
a
a
nod
forensic-
to the comic with the nurses wearing lingerie and their butts hanging out.
I very much doubt it, since I don't think they read the comic.
That's the only thing I could point to.
I think it's just, this is cool. We need to do cyberpunk things without understanding it, without understanding really what cyberpunk is.
Yeah.
So we'll have she's the only person that smokes in the film too.
Yes.
It's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
She's in a sterile lab
Yeah.
where she's performing a forensic examination on a robot.
Yeah.
And she's smoking.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You should be smoke on the street or something, but no one on the street is smoking.
It's very strange.
It's the weirdest goddamn thing.
Okay, so Major decides she needs to do what's called a deep dive into the brain of this geisha to find out where Kuze is.
Yeah.
She goes in there and has a vision of a nightclub, but it's like, as we learn later, it's a hologram because the hologram is in little shards that disintegrate as she walks past them. We see a scene later where she's a hologram and that disintegrates into these little black shards.
Right.
She goes in. It's a very weird thing that the geisha... Why? How did she know that that's the geisha's only memory? She somehow found the exact place where Kuze is, this nightclub.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. Anyway,
No, it doesn't make sense.
While in there, while she sees Kuze, who kind of does this magic trick and blows her out, and then she's attacked by a virus, which is literally, it's just like these black people that claw at her.
Yeah.
It's this weird literalized. This is so unlike the manga.
Yeah.
Even in the anime where they go into this realm. She's wearing the clothes she was wearing on the table when she goes in.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. This is... what is it? This is like The Cage, with J-Lo.
The Cell.
The Cell,
Yes,
not The Cage,
The
The Cell. Yeah. This is like The Cell with J-Lo.
Yeah.
This is not a hack or...
No,
whatever.
it doesn't seem like she's in some cyber
It doesn't feel
realm
like
at all.
cyberspace either.
No.
It feels like psychic powers.
Yes. Feels like every TV show you've seen, every genre show where they need somebody to go into another person's mind, and they go in there and they just walk around in hallways.
They walk around their mind, yeah.
Yes. It's just like that. But she immediately goes to the one place that she needs to be in there.
Because she's doing a mind meld. She's not doing a deep dive. She's doing a mind meld.
That's right.
And in fact, we later find out that she's interacting with the real Kuze in this scene.
Right.
Cigarette smoking doctor says that, I can't let you deep dive in her because we don't know, I can't tell you what's going on inside its program. There could be booby traps or EMP pulses or what have you. I am 100% sure that this geisha doll is not connected to the internet.
Right.
How can it be?
That's right.
It's isolated in a lab where it's being examined.
Yeah.
Yet when J-Lo... when ScarJo jumps into it in the deep dive, she interacts with the real Kuze.
Right. He's got his own network, though, so maybe there is an out somewhere. They should have added a line in the script.
If there's psychic powers in this universe, which there isn't.
Right.
So we're getting Marvel style power bleed.
Right.
We don't define powers.
Yeah.
The people just exercise them.
Yeah.
Don't define how things work.
Yeah.
Just have them working.
Yeah.
Laziness of superpowers, it doesn't matter where they come from or how they work. Just have them working. Just have them happening, whatever happens for the plot to happen. The Major is clearly psychically interacting with Kuze here.
It's a bit like the Quantum Universe in the Ant-Man movies, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So they go to this club. They have a kind of operation. She goes in. She's arrested. Or no, she's not arrested. She's captured by the bouncers who want to sexually assault her.
She's taken to a back room, which is shielded so that no signals can get out. Because they're talking like they do in the manga and the anime from '95. They can do mind speech.
Yes,
I think they even call it mind speech.
They called it mind comms.
Mind comms. And she goes into this room, and then she's cut off from Bateau, who's out in the bar drinking beer. And then an incredibly greasy guy, who I think just exists to be sleaze incarnate.
It's supposed to be a quote-unquote Yakuza bar. So this guy seems like...
This guy seems to have had cybernetic... He seems to have gone into the cybernetic enhancement shop and said, can you make me really disgusting?
Yeah. Yeah. And so they chain her to like a stripper pole, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're using a cattle prod on her to like shock her. And then she finally fights back. It takes a very long time. I don't know why she waited so long to beat these guys up.
Exactly. No reason.
She's shocked like 2 or 3 times. She's in pain. She beats them up quite easily, breaks out of this quite easily.
She could have done that at any time.
Could have done that a lot earlier. Then there's kind of a big fight where, she finally gets in touch with Bateau again. She goes into the back room where she thought Kuze was going to be, but there's a bomb which explodes.
Yep.
So she needs to be repaired. And again, special effects are like when her arm's being repaired and when she's being repaired, special effects are pretty
It looks good. And here's where it looks like her body is made of that plastic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I think it's cracks from the explosion, actually. I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
I don't know.
This film, we don't get a clear sense of what... Unlike 95 where we see everything.
Yeah.
Including the Major's, cyborg nipples.
Yeah.
Here, it's not clear. They haven't bothered to be consistent about what... Like, later on, Kuze takes off the Major's face.
Yes.
Just lifts it off.
Yeah.
So, can this fall off any time?
Yeah, I guess so. It's not attached in any kind of serious way.
He gently lifts it off.
Yeah, he didn't have to press a button or anything.
Nope. This isn't like Data's head where you have to turn a bunch of screws and lift it off.
Yeah.
It just fell off into his hand.
Yeah.
So is the Major's... it's just... This film is just cannot decide.
Yeah.
It just has no respect for us.
Yeah.
But these idiots will just... again, Marvel logic. It's just whatever needs... Whatever special effect needs to make a scene look cool, we'll just throw it in.
Yeah. It's occurring to me that ScarJo, instead of going in the Marvel direction, she should have gone in the Ghost World direction.
Yeah, really.
So, Bateau, meanwhile, at the same time, he's having his eyes done up. So now he's got these X-ray zoom eyes that he has in the comics.
Yep. A scene that has no bearing on anything that happens in the movie, and as you pointed out, is literally just there so we can see the origin of the eyes.
Yes. Yes.
Like that, did they think that we just wouldn't get in this after we get that opening crawl or the opening titles with
That's right.
You can cybernetically enhance yourself.
We wouldn't understand.
We would be like, "Whoa, what's wrong with this guy?"
Yeah, meanwhile, all the other characters, the bartender has like one complete robotic arm. We don't need his origin story. Jesus Christ. Okay, meanwhile, Cutter is threatening beat Takeshi Aramaki with something about funding. Again, I don't understand what the connection is that he's able to...
This is why it needs to be
He threatens to burn Section 9.
Why would he have authority over Section 9?
He's not government. And then Aramaki says, I answer the Prime Minister, not to you. That means Hanka is a government agency? I don't know. Okay.
We know that Hanka is funded by the government.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't add up.
Is it a private... But so it's not a private... Is it a private company that receives government funding?
That's what I thought. That's what the opening credit crawl sounds
like SpaceX or something?
Yeah.
But here, Hanka... Okay, here again, we are not understanding the themes of cyberpunk.
Yeah.
In cyberpunk, nation-states and governments are becoming less important as megacorps or like large transnational corporations are now taking over kind of like the space that nation-states occupy in our present.
Yeah.
Except that's not what's happening here, because Hanka seems to be a subsidiary of government almost.
Right.
And yet, but also has some kind of authority over Aramaki. It's plain, and in the very next scene when the Major is swimming in the pitch black sea, a very uninteresting scene compared to the anime where it's all brightly coloured.
Well, they've tried to put in jellyfish and stuff in this version.
Yeah, sure, jellyfish.
Big old CGI jellyfish.
In Canada.
Yes.
In the very next scene, she accuses, as I mentioned earlier, Bateau of being a company man.
Yeah.
So you could have just made Section 9 part of Hanka Robotics. Just leave out the government bit entirely. Just make Section 9 the Black Ops department of a big multinational...
Like a military contractor type situation or something. Yeah.
Yeah, just make it, the megacorp in Cyberpunk, megacorps are governments, essentially.
That's right, yeah.
And you have political intrigue between departments of even corporations that exist in our present, let alone one where they've ballooned to the size they're supposed to be in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Just No. Here it's a government department.
By the way, another thing the scene brought to mind is the casting of Beat Takeshi reminded me of the casting of Beat Takeshi in Johnny Mnemonic. William Gibson's Johnny Mnemonic, 1995.
Yeah. Why do you cast Beat Takeshi
I
in
think
something?
because they saw Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, you're right.
And were like, hey, that's a Japanese guy that does cyberpunk.
Oh my god.
And we don't know any other Japanese actors.
That's the reason he's in it, because there aren't any other Japanese actors, are there? Except for the Urira, who...
Yeah, and Rila was in Wolverine already,
Yes.
Wolverine at this point.
You're right.
Yeah.
So she's brought in to just be the template for these geisha robots, and Beat Takeshi's the only one. I want to believe this.
Yeah.
I want this so badly to be true.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get a weird scene in Major's apartment where she looks at herself. It's not a mirror. It seems to be like a hologram of herself or something. I don't know. It's, you know what? But I don't even know what the scene is. I don't know if it's supposed to be metaphorical or it's supposed to be a mirror.
I don't know. I don't know.
Actually, I'm looking at it now, and she lifts her hand in the opposite hand as if it's a video projection. But the funny thing about this is ScarJo did this scene in Under the Skin, as I talked about last week, where she's looking in the mirror like, what is this body I'm in? And wondering about herself. Odd moment. And then she goes, a scene that I thought was going to be good, where she goes and hires a prostitute. This lady doesn't go anywhere. This could have been the moment where she really examines what's going on. She finds this prostitute. She says, "Are you human?" And the woman says, "Yes." We cut to they're up in her room where she works, and she has this kind of mask that she takes off, and ScarJo just touches her lip and says, "What does that feel like?" And the lady says, "Different." And then ScarJo touches her face, and then the scene cuts.
The scene ends.
I'm
it's
like,
the most interesting thing that happened in the movie.
It was, to me, almost like that moment in 95 where she looks up and sees herself. It's like something interesting's going on here.
It's like something... So, ScarJo is just this robot for so much of the film.
Yeah.
A completely dull character.
Yes. This could have been the moment.
This is something where she did something interesting, and it just cuts off. I was so disappointed too. Yeah.
Such a odd... Okay, then we get this hilarious scene where the smoking doctor, Dr. Dahlin, she's looking at the files for Project 2571, which is this robot in a shell, Ghost in the Shell project.
Which she worked on, so she already knows what it is.
She already knows, but she's got this big these data cards are these big chunky things, right? She's, for some reason, looking at this personnel file while smoking, and then somebody interrupts her. Somebody sneaks into her office, and it's Kuze. She quickly snatches the thing out of this giant disc, this cartridge.
This isn't subtle.
No.
This isn't something you can easily conceal.
And this guy says, "What did they take from me?" and then kills her. And doesn't take the cartridge with the information that he wants. I think this... Or he already knows this. He knows who he's trying to kill anyway. Maybe he doesn't need this cartridge, but...
Oh, yeah, you're right. Because the data on it is a list of the scientists that worked on Project 2571. And
that's a huge cartridge for that little information.
Like 6 names.
Well, later on in the movie, Dr. Ulay gives a cartridge, a huge chunky cartridge. This is like a Commodore 64 or VIC-20 cartridge to Major, which has information apparently about who she used to be. And I think it's only her address. Like you could have written on a slip of paper. I don't know what
is waiting for her to interact with this information in some form, but all she does with it is show up at her old house.
Yes.
So I assume, as you say,
I think it's like a Star Trek original series where things are on tape.
And actually, this is cyberpunk.
Yes.
Because in cyberpunk, tech is big, chunky, and industrial.
Right. Okay.
So I give it a pass. Okay. It doesn't explain why Kuze didn't take it, though.
It's hilarious to me that Kuze didn't take it. She seems to put it in her pocket, but when the Major shows up to examine the body, she's holding it in front of her.
Yes.
Like right on her chest.
Why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't Kuze have taken that?
Couldn't she have hidden it? Couldn't she have swallowed it? Well, you can't swallow it.
No, absolutely not.
You'd be better like trying to swallow it.
It's bigger than a cell phone. It's like...
Yeah.
It's a really big, chunky thing.
Whatever. Or just turn off the... whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, he doesn't do a very good job of getting any information out of her because this is Kuze. He says, "What did they take from me?" in his weird voice. And then he just kills her.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't interested in the answer?
No, guess not. And he didn't take the tape, which might have had some information on it about what was taken from him.
Yeah, it might have been. Oh, but she got that information out of the robot, the geisha robot. But Kuze wouldn't know that. Huh. Maybe he thought there's something interesting on there. Why?
Because it was... Yeah, okay.
I completely agree. It doesn't make any sense.
So when Major looks at this tape, she's like, oh no, this is a list of all the people. But he already has that list.
Yeah.
So she's like, find Ulay. Ulay's on this list. So she's like, oh no, Ulay's going to be killed.
Well, she knows Ulay's next. That's the purpose of the list, that Ulay's next. Now,
okay.
Remember, every other person has been attacked sort of in their home.
Right.
Or at a private event like that party.
Yeah.
Right? Now Dr. Ulay, right when the script needs her to be, is attacked in broad daylight on the street.
Yeah.
In a car.
Yeah.
When she's going in transit to somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's no this has not been Kuze's modus operandi up to this point.
No.
Why does he suddenly...
No, and in fact, he hacks the garbage men.
Yes.
So this is when we get nod to the garbage men.
Well, it's... You say nod. I say it's an aping. I've said the word aping over and over.
Yeah.
They constantly use imagery from and like shots and scenes and circumstances from 95 without understanding why.
Yeah.
Here we have 14 seconds of dialogue where these two disgusting garbage men are eating noodles and complaining. One of them's complaining about his daughter that plays violin.
Yeah.
I love her, but why couldn't she play piano?
Well, he says, why did she... He doesn't want to pay for violin lessons or something like that? I don't remember.
Because it's obnoxious. The violin's really annoying when you're learning it.
Right.
He says, why can't she... the piano lessons would have cost the same. Right. I should have just done that. 14 seconds.
Yeah.
We have 14 seconds of this interaction.
Yeah.
This is not enough time to care about these garbage people.
Care about his daughter. When in the manga, and even in the manga, in the movie, the anime, he's showing a photo to his writing partner.
Yes. We get a lot of time with them.
He's like...
Because it's important.
And it's this divorce, he's going through all this stuff.
It's very important to humanize him because of what comes next.
Yes.
Here we don't get any of it.
Yeah.
We just get the garbage men.
Yeah.
And then they're hacked.
Yeah.
And they immediately ram their garbage truck into Dr. Ulay's car, which happens to be driving past. I have lots of questions. How did Kuze know that she was driving past right then? How did he know which garbage men to hack?
Yep.
How was he able to hack them?
Yep. Here's another question. Why implant false memories about a daughter having violin lessons 100%. Into this guy if 3 seconds later he's going to attack Dr. Ulay and assassinate her?
There is no reason for him to have false memories. It has no bearing on what he does next. He gets attacked and his agency taken away.
Yeah.
And becomes like a cyborg puppet.
Yeah.
This is a terrible crime.
Yeah.
This is the puppet master. Crucially, when the puppet master did it in the anime and the manga, he was at that point under Section 6's control, so had no agency. When he did this bad thing, the puppet master, he was being compelled to do it by the evil foreign ministry.
Right.
Kuze is a free agent.
Yeah.
And later on we find out someone with whom we're supposed to identify as a victim. Yet here he's doing terrible things.
Yeah.
This is not good writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not good writing. As you say, there is no reason for him to give him false memories to.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they crash their truck into Dr. Ulay's car, and they get out, and the garbage man points his gun at Dr. Ulay and says, "Tell me everything you know about Project 2571." Mm-hmm. Then Bateau and the Major show up, and we have a firefight.
I really can't believe he couldn't hack this data about 2571. He needs a flesh of
He can hack person. A guy.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal in the manga and anime, hacking someone's ghost.
Yeah.
But he can just do it.
Yeah.
Why not just hack Dr. Ulay if you can hack a person and interact with their brain?
Yeah.
Maybe the garbage men have like
some enhancements.
The really cheap kind of like firewall.
Yeah.
They got cheap ice, and Dr. Ulay has the best ice. Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
But we never get told that.
Yes. So the garbage man goes on the run. He's got the cloak. Now this plays out much like the 95 anime.
Identical.
Again, it's a scene that's not in the manga at all. Shot for shot. Even the overhead shot through like the tenements with the airplane flying overhead. And then they get to that big like reservoir.
Yep.
She's invisible. She's flinging him around. All the same. Even there's a moment where he spins around and fires a machine gun. It's like he watched the anime. This actor must have done that and just had the lean back.
Shot for shot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why do this?
I don't know, but she's beating the crap out of him. Bato's like, hey, don't kill him. We need information. They bring him back, and they put him in this special cell.
Yep.
This glass cell. Glass box. With this thing around his, like this harness around his neck. And the Major's in there, but it's actually a hologram of the Major that's in there with him.
Yeah, okay.
It's not actually her. And she shows him he talks about his daughter.
Yep.
And she holds up photos. This is your daughter? And he says, yes, beautiful. Isn't she? And actually, it's him.
It's just his face.
But it's a hologram.
And it's not a photo.
Again, it's a hologram.
Yeah.
So holograms exist in this world. That cat is confusing. That little shrine was confusing.
So this also, like, where did this hologram come from? It's just a hologram of his face.
Yeah.
Is this his driver's license? Like...
No, it's not even a card. It's just a photo of his...
But why would he seeing his own face make him think he's looking at his daughter? Like,
well...
I know in the anime it was himself.
Yeah.
But when he looked at it, he I don't think he was seeing his daughter anymore. He'd just been hacked to think that a photo he was holding was a photo of his daughter. But here, the guy genuinely doesn't seem to know that he's not looking at himself. That he thinks he's looking at a photo of his daughter.
Here's a question. If he was only hacked at the moment of the attack,
why did he have
a photo of himself? Why was he carrying around a photo of himself for years?
Why was he talking about his daughter before he was hacked? The daughter that he didn't have.
I thought he was hacked before he started talking about her.
Well, we didn't see that. We only see them.
Yes.
We see them get hacked in real time, which is not something that happens in the anime or the manga. We don't see people being hacked. We didn't see them being hacked in real time. So it looks like they just got hacked at that moment.
Right.
Both of them, but only one of them has false memories.
Right. Right. Right.
So again, I have so many questions about this stupid scene.
Well, the other might have false memories, but it doesn't matter. Anyway,
but we don't know.
So
and also, there's no reason for them to have it because it doesn't make them better.
That's right.
Mindless assassins.
Yes, that's right.
The hack the Puppet Master did in the anime made the Garbage Man a better agent because it gave him that desire to perform the hack on the interpreter because he thought he was hacking his wife to get custody of his daughter.
Yeah.
Here, fake memories don't make you a better... It's like in... Again, speaking... No, I'm not going to talk about Blade Runner 2049. This interrogation scene is stupid. I have so many questions. First of all, the Major's some kind of frontline operative. Why is she doing the interrogation? We've never seen her do any detective work or any kind of... Why would she be the one to go in there and speak to this guy? Also, she's really mean to him.
Yeah. Again, she's never seen hacking before, much like she's never seen a robot before. Until she killed that Robo Geisha, she'd never seen a robot before.
All this blows up any kind of emotional depth to what's happened to this Garbage Man.
Yeah.
He just seems like a dirty, annoying person.
Yes.
And also...
But we're supposed to believe that he's so traumatized once the truth is revealed that he kills himself.
Well, I'm sorry, we only knew this guy for 14 seconds before he got hacked.
Yeah.
And then he kills himself. Is it good practice to let your interrogation subjects have the means to kill themselves instantly if they want to?
Yeah.
All he does is jump.
That's right. Yeah. And that harness kills him,
That seems like bad practice.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, while he's in the cell, he's hacked by Kuze again through the lie detector, and they're able to track that. So they find out...
Why is your lie detector connected to the internet?
I guess they need the Google AI to actually interpret the results.
This seems like poor operation security. If your lie detector needs a live internet connection,
but
maybe it's just like you said, this is future Google. You can only use this software if you're connected to the net.
Yeah, it's like Windows 11. Okay, so they they trace the line that Kuze was coming from, and it's this place. It's kind of chop shop, cyberpunk chop shop, where all these guys are being modified to form a giant. Like, all these people are sitting around in a circle. They're all connected to this independent network which Kuze has set up.
We're never told what this network is or what it's for.
It's separate from the internet that the rest of the world uses.
So it's kind of like it's just described as a network.
Yes.
And Kuze, its only purpose, according to Kuze, is... I don't know, maybe does it let him... the only explanation we get for it is that it's a bolt hole for Kuze. He can send his ghost there if he's in danger or if anything happens to him.
Yeah.
His ghost can go there to, quote, regenerate.
Right.
Also, it may make him a better hacker.
Okay.
Because he has a very kind of elaborate setup where all the wires coming out of their heads go to one. It's like Cerebro. Mm-hmm. It all goes to one location, and then he puts the Cerebro helmet on. Marvel.
Yeah.
And then he can Professor X people out. You know, it is Cerebro.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I should. Yeah. I have questions. Have these people consented to this process?
It seems to be, because there's a bunch of people when they come in, there's people who are having the surgery done to them at that moment. So it seems like some kind of cult behavior of some sort.
Yeah.
But it's not explained.
This is very dubiously consensual.
Yeah.
These are human minds. These people have volunteered to essentially turn themselves into Matrix-style human firmware.
Processors, yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions about whether this is ethical.
Yeah.
And remember, this is later on. This is supposed to be the hero, one of the heroes of the piece.
Yes.
And in fact, the villain's crime, to spoil
But in the very next scene, when she's confronted by Kuze, she says, "You're a bad guy. You killed people. You hurt innocent people." So she does say that in the very next scene.
She does, but she pretty quickly goes over to his side after.
Yes.
I mean, he convinces her that his cause is just.
Well,
because his cause is
okay. So what happens
finding out who he is.
She goes deeper into this warren, this lair.
They're raiding it. Section 9
They're
is
raiding it. She goes deeper and she's captured. She's beat up and captured.
How? They're still in the same building. A building that is, at that very moment, being raided.
There are other agents there. Somehow they do not go to rescue
She's alone
her.
with him for like 15 minutes.
Very
in the
long
same
time.
building.
She wakes up. She was knocked out and wakes up.
In Cerebro.
Yes. And she's captured by this guy who gives her a long... He speaks like... it's like the old computer voice. Or like, you know, if you ever heard like Stephen Hawking, that computer output voice, he sounds like that.
He's a bit like Max Headroom.
And he looks like... He looks like the Cyber Ninja Jack from the Metal Gear Solid series. But he's got a tattoo of like that same shrine that she's seen in her visions.
Yeah. Yes, so he's haunted by it as well. He said it haunts me, he doesn't know what it is.
Yes. So he reveals a bunch of stuff to her. Like that he was... I think this is the point where he says, I was part of the same project.
Yeah, he says he was the prototype.
Okay, so why is he alive? I didn't get this in the movie.
It's not explained. They just said they tried to kill him and somehow he escaped.
So he just ran away? And they didn't bother to hunt him down and kill him?
Apparently not.
Huh, okay.
And then he became...
Because he's causing a lot of problems
Then he became the greatest hacker ever.
Right.
Somehow. Despite being a memoryless prototype that was designed to follow orders and shoot people.
Yes.
And somehow he's the puppet master, because his character's been combined with the puppet masters.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever. He knows about the medicine that... we haven't even mentioned the medicine.
Yes. Right.
The Major takes some obviously dodgy medicine.
Yeah.
Like, it is so obvious that this is not...
What do you mean, to the audience or to the characters? And
to us, the audience.
Yes, yeah.
Like, it's sort of like some green goop that she plugs into the ports on the back of her neck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, keep taking your pills. It's clearly not good for her.
Yeah.
You know, why would it... She's just a brain.
Yeah.
What kind of medicine works on the physiology of a person that has no organs?
Yes. I don't remember if they say what it's for. I think Lulay says, have you been taking your medicine when she has the glitches?
Yep.
It is supposed to suppress her memories.
Yeah, but how would that even work?
Well, that doesn't matter. It's just...
I think it does. She should be sitting down in front of like a mind wipe machine every night.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, he tells her...
But it's because you stupid idiots watching it. You need a visual...
of course.
You need to see her taking the bad pills. And once she stops, she needs to throw away the bad pills at one point. So we get that gesture to let us know that she's not taking the bad people's medicine anymore.
Yeah. He tells her to stop taking it. Anyway, after this confrontation, that's when she goes to Ulay in her apartment. Yeah. She's sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
And Ulay reveals that there had been 98 other test subjects that all failed.
Yeah.
And that your memories are false. Yeah. And would put a memory about this terrorist attack to make you hate terrorists.
Yeah. So false memories, you know, this is just so cliched.
Yes.
Blade Runner. I mentioned the Bourne identity. I think she's essentially Jason Bourne.
Yeah. this is what now we get the diving scene because she needs to quiet her mind after
This is the second diving scene. We've had more than one. There was one much earlier.
No, this is the...
No, there definitely was. I wrote it down.
There was, because this is a scene where she comes up and there's the jellyfish and she floats up and then she gets on the boat with...
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I've just moved one of my notes earlier. You're right. This is the diving scene.
So, and this is also where she throws away her
medicine,
her memory suppressant.
Get it? She's stopped taking it because she's thrown it away.
Yeah. Yeah. But then she's arrested by Cutter's men because Cutter has found out from Ulay that Ulay has revealed all this information.
So this is called like Hunker Security or something, or Security Forces.
Yeah.
This is what Section 9 could have been. Section 9 could have been these guys.
In fact, there was a sequence in the manga where Section 9 tries to arrest her, I think after she assassinated that Mossad agent or something. There was a storyline.
Yeah, when they were on the lam. Yeah, Yeah, you didn't...
So they bring her in. Cutter is like, okay, I want you to kill her.
Yep.
So Ulay goes in there and injects something into her brain, but then gives her the big VIC-20 memory cartridge with the information, with her home address on it.
So in this scene, Scarlett Johansson is crying because she's not consenting to being murdered.
Okay, right.
Why would a cyborg need to cry? She has synthetic eyes. Why would they...
Why would they put tear ducts in there?
Why would you have tear ducts in synthetic eyes?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Ulay doesn't want to kill her, though, so she secretly doesn't kill her so that ScarJo can escape. But then Cutter shoots Ulay dead. Yep. There's strangely no bullet holes
in her.
Like,
weird.
They forgot to put the special effect in, almost.
Yeah, that was strange.
Like this. Oh, we don't need a special
I first thought that she hadn't got, like, he shot the glass that she's behind.
And I thought it was bulletproof glass because there was no marks on her.
She didn't have any...
But then she falls over dead. I'm like, what? What happened exactly?
2 days.
So strange.
What did Ulay inject her with? She was given a very obvious toxin to inject.
Maybe it was a memory
Again,
enhancer.
this is like yeah, that's it. It was the memory enhancer so that she could start remembering.
Yeah.
But again, this is a cyborg. You have direct access to her consciousness, essentially, that you can edit at will. You don't need to inject a sketchy red fluid into her.
Well, it's supposed to be something that's supposedly going to kill her.
Well, you could just kill her by turning her off, is my point.
Yeah, right.
But, the audience won't get it.
That's right.
Unless we have a sketchy red fluid that's going to be injected into her brain.
Right. Well, I think maybe Cutter wanted permadeath. I think if you switch her off, you can maybe turn her back on. Maybe.
Sure.
I don't know.
I think this is for the benefit.
So anyway, she escapes. Cutter's very angry with Section 9 and Aramaki, blah, blah, blah. Major goes back to her house, her old house of her original body, and it's this Japanese
meets her
lady.
mom.
Meets her mom.
Speaks English.
I actually think this is the second best actress in the movie. I think Juliette Binoche, and I think this lady, playing the Motoko's mother, is pretty good.
She's fine.
She invites Major in. There's a little... Anyway, they have tea, and Motoko says she gets some details about Motoko's who she was.
Yep.
And we learned that Motoko was like she lived in what was called the lawless zone.
Yep. Which we'd never heard of before this point.
We hadn't heard of it before, and she was like anti-establishment, like anti-technology.
Yeah. She was like a Luddite. She wrote manifestos. Saying that technology was bad for you, and
so Cutter is recruiting. In fact, we see a scene later in the movie, a flashback where Cutter's on site, when
the
they're
CEO of Hunker Robotics
when they're abducting
goes on
these insurgents,
black ops raids into the lawless zone to supervise them arresting vagrants.
Okay,
not arresting. Kidnapping.
Absolutely, and then doing human experimentation on them. Okay, here's my question. You want somebody that hates terrorists, so you implant memories of them being attacked by terrorists. Why, of all your test subjects, would you use people that are anti-establishment and are trying to live off the grid? Yep. It seems to me you should get people that are like already hate terrorists.
This is a cyber... Yeah, exactly. Also, this is like a cyberpunk... Like, when we get the reveal from Dr. Ulay that there had been 98 subjects before the Major.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a horrifying reveal. But I just kind of shrugged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course you need to experiment multiple times in order to perfect the process.
You're going to put human brain in a robot body?
You think it's going to work the first time?
Yeah.
It's just that corporations bad.
Yes.
This is very not. I mean, in Cyberpunk, corporations, the megacorps are, I guess, evil, but they're only evil in the sense that capitalism has triumphed. No one cares in a cyberpunk world about megacorp corruption.
Right.
Megacorp corruption just is.
Yeah.
In fact, the megacorps are unassailable.
Right.
No one has any. You can't. They're untouchable. You can nibble away at the edges like in Shadowrun. You can do runs and kind of mess with them a little bit, lift some data from them or what have you. But you can't bring them down. They're like nation states.
Yeah.
But here, it's like Cutter's is implied to have... First of all, Cutter is obviously evil because corporations are bad.
Yes.
And there's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Another very American story. There's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy what's happened to Kuze. It's a conspiracy what's happened to the Major.
Yeah.
And Cutter is behind the conspiracy.
Yeah.
And the conspiracy needs to be revealed.
Yeah.
And he needs to be punished for
Yes.
it. Bullshit. This is all just business as usual in a dystopian future.
Yeah. It would seem to be all above board as far as I can tell.
I'm sorry, but it would be. These people... When it's revealed, we're not told that they'd been abducted at that point.
Yeah.
They could have been volunteers.
Yeah.
The Major herself could have been a volunteer.
Yeah. That's right.
We don't know.
Right. And
But
even
it's
the
treated-
abductions, I'm not saying that was obviously immoral, but there's nothing saying it was illegal for them to do that.
For sure. That's right. There is nothing saying it's illegal. They're in the lawless zone, which would imply that there are no laws there.
Yeah.
So if you abduct people from the lawless zone and experiment on them, you're probably not violating the law of the land.
Yeah.
I'm not defending that practice. I'm just saying within the worlds of that universe...
That's right.
You couldn't punish Cutter for it, probably.
That's right. So Cutter turns on Section 9 because he believes that he believes that Major Mira has gone bad.
Yeah.
He believes she's infected with a virus. The terrorist virus has infected her.
I think that's just his...
maybe it's...
I think he's worried... No, he's worried about the conspiracy being revealed.
Right.
Because there will be consequences for him if the conspiracy...
So he sends hit teams after all the members of Section 9. They fight back, defeat them pretty easily.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, Major has decided to go back on... She wants to go back online. So I think somehow she figured out where she's going to the lawless zone. Maybe just because the mom told her about it. But when she gets there, she gets like memories. She has flashback memories.
Because maybe that shot did do something.
And she wants Kuze to find her.
Yes.
So she goes online.
She goes online. We're not told what that means, but she just goes online.
Yeah.
She's warned that Cutter will be able to find her as well.
Yeah.
But she doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's like, let him come. I need to meet with Kuze. So Kuze is able to find her and meet her at this spot.
Yeah.
And there they both discover the truth about themselves.
Right.
Thanks to some very convenient graffiti.
Yes.
Which is in English.
Yes. So
despite
it's
them being
Hideo plus Motoko.
Incidentally, Motoko, I think, is a real girl's name.
Yeah.
But Kusanagi is not a real person's name, right? We talked that.
But I don't know if they ever said her last name in this. I think they only ever said Motoko. I don't think they ever said Kusanagi in this.
Okay. Maybe, okay.
But it's what a coincidence that they were lovers. There were 98 test subjects, but it's their names next to each other.
Yeah, maybe, right next to each other.
Maybe they weren't.
The two most recent... but they knew one another intimately.
Yes.
Because their names...
I think they all did. They seem to imply that everybody living together here was like a family.
It's just a big gangbang.
Yeah.
So, what a coincidence that the 97th and 98th subjects happened to be the ones that knew one another very closely and had written their names
right next to each other
on this temple.
Yes.
And then we see her memories. We see her memories of the glitches are getting more strong.
Yes.
So we actually see the abduction occurring.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, Cutter is right there. No plausible deniability. I mean, he just literally went along on this Black Ops mission.
Yep.
He didn't care.
Yep.
So why is he so concerned about the conspiracy being revealed? Because the Major's concerned about it. And because the Major's concerned about it, we're
And in fact, it's why Section 9 is turned on him as well. Section 9 is like, you're a bad guy.
Because, there's no reason, though, in-universe.
No, in-universe, no.
This is such lazy storytelling. What the protagonist cares about, we should care about.
Yeah. So Kuze wants her to enter his network so they can become 1 or
It's not implied.
vague. It's very vague.
He does sort of say they need to become a new. So here we're just again.
He's talking about
we're parroting
yes.
dialogue from
Yes.
95, where the puppet master very explicitly said that the combination of himself
we get a
and
very long scene in 95 where
Yeah.
he's explaining it, and we get this shot of the
Angel coming
tree of species
Yes.
that's been
Oh, yeah.
shot up, and
Oh,
all that kind of stuff
we discussed
is
it
in
in
there.
great detail. It was very clear.
Yeah.
It was very clear.
Yeah.
But here we just get it parroted
Yeah.
without any understanding of what those original lines were about
Yeah.
in 95. He just says, we can move, let's move beyond them. We're the next stage of life. We'll come into my network and we'll move beyond them. Okay, again, you're not the next stage of life.
Yeah.
You're still a human brain.
Yeah.
You're a human brain with slightly more cybernization.
The puppet master was not a human at all. It was
We've seen some pretty cybernetic people.
Yeah.
You're just ever so slightly more cybernetic than they are.
Yeah.
And yet the film treats them like they're a new organism. No, you're not.
yeah.
You're not.
Yeah. No. That was the puppet master was born out of pure information.
Yep.
That was a new life form.
Yes.
And needed to merge with Kusanagi to become a life form that could die and
Reproduce properly, yeah.
Okay, so now Cutter uses a think tank, which is called a spider tank in this version, just in case you couldn't figure out that's the thing that looked like a spider. If you called it a think tank, you'd be like, why do they call it a spider tank? I guess there were people confused about this.
Incidentally, I forgot to mention this last week, but Hiro apparently collects and owns spiders.
Oh, Shiro, you mean?
Oh, Shiro, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Shiro, not Hiro.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Because that's why everything
Because
is
so
like a
much in that,
spider.
everything in that comic is like, here's what I'm interested in. I'm going to draw a page about this thing.
Spiders.
Spiders.
He likes spiders. He keeps them as pets.
That makes total sense. Okay, so now the spider tank attacks. We get a lot of effort to make this look exactly like the 95 version. Again,
Shot for shot.
this fight is not in the manga. It's from the 95 version. Like where she's hiding behind like pillars and the thing's shooting. In this version, the tank says out loud, target acquired, target destroyed. I don't know how it got data that the target was destroyed, because Motoko,
she wasn't
Major is not destroyed.
She wasn't.
She's just invisible. Very strange bit of business there. She jumps on the tank, she tries to rip off the top, much like in the anime, exactly like in the anime, I should say.
She gets all busted up.
She gets all busted up.
Except this time she does it successfully. Unlike in the anime where she doesn't.
And in the anime, it ran out of ammo before she attacked it, right?
Yes.
That's why she was like, okay, now it's safe for me to run at this thing. I thought. Maybe I could be wrong. Anyway.
She was trying to run it out of ammo. It's sort of not really clear what's going on.
Right.
But she's still in danger when she gets on top of it, trying to pry open its lid to get to the human operator that's inside it.
Right.
Here, the operator is Cutter. He is not
He's
on
remote.
site.
That's right.
He's remote.
But we do get a line from the thing that says the navigation system or something is compromised.
Yeah.
There's some line.
I think
like
it
that.
might be a design flaw to have the navigation system for your tank in a place that can be accessed by a slightly enhanced humanoid.
Yeah, it was like the CPU or something like that. It
seemed really close to the top of the tank.
Yeah.
Like she just pulled it out.
Yeah. But by the way, it also does pick up. It uses the manipulator arm to pick up Kuze by the head.
Yeah.
Not her, but Kuze. But that
Kuze-
shot is taken right out of 95.
Yep. We even
as well.
see the arm. It's exactly the same. We even see it closing on his skull.
Yes.
And the kind of like gear turning.
Yeah. So she's lying in the dirt with Kuze. We get the same.
It's the exact shot.
The same framing of the shots as he like turns to her. They can't do the half and half face like they do in the anime, because the anime had
the two busted cyborg or robots or what have you are lying alongside one another in exactly the same perspective and setup as they were in 95.
Yeah.
Even though they're different characters.
And they're being targeted from overhead.
Yep. By the snipers again.
And he says something like, he says, join with me. And she says, I'm not ready to leave.
Okay.
And he says, I'll always be with you. His eyes go white.
Implying that he's retreated to the network.
Yes.
Okay, so
he hasn't merged with her.
No.
And he says...
they're not talking about merging.
No.
They're talking about... Well, it's not clear what they're talking about. How this evolution will work or what exactly is the nature of Kuze's network. It's never explained. Also, Kuze, it's implied, has left now because his eyes go white.
Right.
Like, he doesn't just close his eyes or go vacant.
He says, there is no place for us here. Come with me. Yeah. But she says no.
They could have...
And when he's shot and she cries out, no! It's the first emotion she's had.
The whole movie.
Except when she was almost killed, I guess.
Or when she cried.
Yeah.
But, you know... so he could have left at any time. Because that's clearly what happened here. He's retreated to his bolt hole, the network of possibly involuntary brains.
I guess he was trying to convince her to come with him.
Yeah, I guess so.
To the last minute.
I guess so. That makes sense. So he gets out fine, then he gets shot. Incidentally, I want to revisit this point which I raised earlier. Carter's crime was abducting 98 people and scooping their brains out and plonking them in robots. It doesn't seem that much worse than what Kuze is doing to his quote-unquote network.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which seems pretty similar, actually.
Yes, but we don't know if those are volunteers. They do seem very cult-like to me. But some lines of dialogue would have been good.
Some of those 98 people might have been volunteers too. We just don't know.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, Aramaki confronts Cutter at his location, his remote location, and then he charges him with murder for killing those 98 people.
Yeah, so Aramaki is a police officer?
But then Aramaki radios Major and says, do I have your consent to kill this guy?
Why would she ask?
She says, my name is Major, I give my consent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the Major, not
my
Mira,
name is Major.
not Motoko,
Right.
but my name is Major and I give my consent. Because...
Why does she have to consent to his being killed by Aramaki? What is going on here?
Because this is lazy writing. Because nothing is more important than what the protagonist thinks about what's happening.
Yes.
So only the protagonist can provide justice, which in this case is consenting.
That's right. We need the main protagonist to deliver justice to the antagonist.
Such bad writing.
Yeah.
It's such a shame seeing Beat Takeshi. Even, it's always cool seeing him fuck shit up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We get a scene where he's in a car and he shoots 3 guys.
Yeah.
He's like hiding behind his briefcase, he shoots 3 guys. I'm like, you're like some old man. These guys have rifles.
Yeah, and he's got like a revolver or something in an old-fashioned like the holster for it. Yeah.
These guys just were big fans of his, I guess. We'll just give him some old-fashioned revolver and have him.
It's a bit like Tokusa's revolver.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, he gets permission to kill this guy from the Major. I guess he answers to the Major.
I give my consent.
So now we get she visits the grave of it does say Motoko Kusanagi on the grave. It does.
Yeah. Not a name.
And she meets the mother, and it's like, she says to the mother, you don't need to come here anymore. Yeah. I guess because she's going to return to her old life. In some form.
Well, she's going to get her memories back, right. I think it's implied.
Right. But then we get the scene of her on the rooftop saying, and she gives a absolutely asinine speech about our memories. We cling to memories as if they define us, but it's what we do.
Yes, except that wasn't the message of the film at all, because we were told by the film that nothing is more important than your memories. And you need to go on a big quest to recover your memories that have been taken from you by a conspiracy.
I'm trying to think of an example. I feel like there was an example recently of a movie where somebody went on a quest for their memories and wasn't able to get them by the end of the movie, or... God, what was that?
Well, in Total Recall that happens.
That's true, yeah.
And that's the message of the film, that
that's right.
Arnie is a better person because he chooses to fight for Martian liberation rather than becoming the person he used to be.
I guess Murphy in RoboCop as well maybe doesn't get his memories. Does he get his memories back?
He sort of does.
Yeah.
He does call himself Murphy at the end.
Yes, that's right, he does.
I love that movie.
Yeah. And then...
it's a much better movie.
Yeah, and she's literally in a Spider-Man crouch on the top of this building.
Yep.
And it's a terrible CG shot of the city as it is throughout the film, and that's the end credits, and that's about it. All right, let's get into our trivia.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. Yeah. Okay, so this film was expensive.
Okay.
You were close. You were close with your second guess.
Okay.
It cost $110 million, except that figure probably did not include marketing.
Okay.
So it was probably closer to $180 million after marketing costs. Its box office was $169.8 million.
Okay.
So that is a flop. That's a dud.
Yeah.
A big dud. Obviously it cost way more than it needed to, I think.
Yeah.
So why did it do so badly? Well, there's a couple of reasons. It seems like they didn't know how to market it when they promoted it. Because, of course, I mean, I guess this film is ostensibly for fans of the anime. But that's a pretty narrow segment of the population, I think.
I think it's for people who don't want to watch the anime.
Right. But have heard of it?
Maybe, yeah. It's a brand name, so marketing likes a brand, anything that has an existing name. And
it's based on a comic, which they put front and centre, despite it not having anything to do with the comic, really. In 2017, I think you're still expecting mileage from a film associated with the comic.
Yeah.
It's still... When did Endgame come out? It was around 2017, wasn't it?
Yes. 19 maybe? Yeah.
Yep. So this is at a time when this is still the alchemy that you're hoping to take advantage of.
Absolutely.
But this is not a well-known IP, I think. I think people have heard...
I agree. Amongst mainstream, it's not.
No. It's not good. So that's another reason why it didn't do well. Because it's just not that good.
Yeah.
But also there's a casting controversy.
Okay.
So this film was controversial for the bad kind of controversial.
Okay.
Which we will get into.
Okay.
But I'll continue now as to how it got made. Okay, so DreamWorks acquired the rights to the film, or to Ghost in the Shell, the film rights, in 2008. Before that, DreamWorks had actually been the distributor for Innocence.
Okay.
In the American market.
All right.
They distributed it in 2004. Apparently, there was something of a bidding war at the time.
Okay.
But at least several production companies were interested in Ghost in the Shell. Universal and Sony were both interested, as well as DreamWorks. However, what seems to have swung DreamWorks behind the project is that Steven Spielberg wanted it.
Huh.
And I have a quote.
Okay.
From an article published around 2008.
Okay.
Which is Spielberg saying, Ghost in the Shell is one of my favourite stories.
Okay.
It's a genre that has arrived, and we enthusiastically welcome it to DreamWorks.
Steven had already made AI.
Yeah, by this point,
yeah.
By 2008? Yeah. When did AI come out?
It was...
04 or something?
Earlier than that, even. I feel like it was even late 90s.
Right.
Early 2000s, yeah. Yep. Yeah, okay.
So, there you go. Steven Spielberg.
He didn't need to make this, he'd already done it.
Right, but he cared enough about that kind of film to... I guess he'd seen it, so we can add Steven Spielberg to fans of the original Ghost in the Shell, by which I mean the anime.
Right.
Probably not the manga. I doubt that Spielberg has struggled through Shiro's numerous footnotes about cyborg genitalia.
Yeah.
At this point, Avi Arad, who has definitely featured on the podcast before and is one of the producers on the film, is attached. Eventually, at some point, Paramount Pictures also comes in as well to take care of distribution, to production and distribution. And DreamWorks at some point drops out.
But their logo's still on here.
Yes, but they didn't have anything to do with distributing it.
Okay.
So despite they dropped out as it was getting closer to release and did not have anything to do with distribution.
But they chucked money into production, maybe?
Must have
Otherwise,
done.
Their logo... I think it's the first logo in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe when they... But certainly Paramount and DreamWorks were both working on it together at one point, and then DreamWorks just seems to have withdrawn at some point and left Paramount in charge of marketing and distribution. And this is where things start to go wrong at around this point. Like we said, Paramount can't figure out how to market the film, and also some controversy is brewing.
Okay.
And this is, of course, whitewashing.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yep.
I remember this being a controversy at the time. The fact that Scarlett Johansson, a white actress, was cast to play Motoko Kusanagi, a Japanese character. I remember thinking, this is odd.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan of the anime, and you're, I guess, not Japanese, this is alarm bells. Why is this character with a Japanese name from a beloved Japanese anime? Why is the actor playing them?
Yeah.
Why is it Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah.
Confusing.
Yes.
And it's not. I mean, we've had other examples of this.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there was some. I think for most of the kind of like the new tens, there was always some scandal on the boil.
Right.
About casting.
Right.
You know, we had the Avatar: The Last Airbender film where a white kid was cast as Aang.
Yes.
We've covered 2 movies on the podcast, Dragon Ball Evolution and Death Note 2017, that both cast white actors in roles that were either the characters were originally Japanese or they were had a Japanese name or were from a Japanese product. But there's something particularly egregious about Ghost in the Shell, I suppose, because the Dragon Ball and Death Note adaptations particularly, and also maybe Speed Racer, they were maybe what you would call cultural adaptations, where the whole story has been put in a new milieu and a new location, been adapted wholesale into a new setting. Here, I don't think that's been done. Everyone's still got their Japanese names. I'm pretty sure the setting is Japan. I know we said it's Canada.
Yeah.
I want it to be Canada.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's Japan, because there's a lot of Japanese aesthetics going on.
Right.
Like there's Japanese cemetery.
Some of the that's right, the cemetery and this but that was Motoko's. But this some of the billboard kind of stuff is like that Coke ad from Blade Runner. It's like women in kimonos and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard
I mean
to
we've
say.
got geisha and sure, but geisha could be anywhere.
But there's no Japanese people in it.
That's well, I mean,
to the extent that I'm saying this isn't set in Japan, and
it's hard to say. I mean, where is it if it's not Japan? I suppose it could be anywhere. And in the future of Ghost
it's like
in the Shell,
look at L.A. and Blade Runner.
Yeah,
is people speaking some kind of weird pidgin Japanese
because nation states have stopped mattering.
Things have melted together.
It's a big melting pot.
Yeah.
Because only corporations matter.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting that sense from Ghost in the Shell.
Right.
It feels like very much, even though we've got people, it feels different to Blade Runner.
Yeah, of course it does.
In the sense, even though we've got people of different ethnicities all hanging out together, and there's people are allowed to eat with chopsticks in any country. It doesn't locate you, and there's a hell of a lot of English.
Yes.
People only speak English. In fact, only Beat Takeshi doesn't speak English.
Yes, and the Michael Wincott character makes a comment about how his daughter learned French in like
a second
by putting an eggplant in.
I just assume that when Beat Takeshi's talking, they've got some software that's...
Yes, but I'm assuming that he does not speak in Japanese because he's in Japan. Because he's the only one that speaks Japanese in the whole movie.
It's true. I can't imagine that it's anywhere but Japan.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem plausible. It doesn't feel like it's somewhere that's not Japan. Instead, it feels like a Japan that's inexplicably full of foreigners.
Right. Yeah, in fact, Hideo and Motoko hanging out in the lawless zone, two Japanese people.
They could be Japanese people in a post-national world.
Could be that... Maybe,
but it just doesn't feel...
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like that we're looking at a blending of cultures. In Blade Runner, of course, and in the original cyberpunk stories, by William Gibson and that, the Japanese aesthetic is so prominent because it was just accepted that Japan was going to become a global powerhouse at that point.
Yes.
Because the Japanese just seem to be winning on all fronts.
And they were at the forefront of robotics as well. Yes. So that was... Yeah.
Forefront of technology, economic miracle, the bubble is, in full swing at this point. To Gibson, it just seemed this was just sensible.
Yeah.
Now we don't think that.
Right.
No one thinks Japan is going to be the dominant aesthetic of the coming centuries. Everybody knows that Japan is in an economic trouble. So what? How do we? So it just doesn't seem like it could be America or Australia or Europe or somewhere. It just feels... we've spent quite a lot of time on this and we haven't come to a consensus.
No. Okay, but let's talk about
the Whitewashing.
ScarJo. Yeah.
Yes. So, wow, that was quite the digression.
No, but it was to the point that we're trying to get to about... Is she a white character in Japan?
And she's indisputably a Japanese character too. We are told she has the name Motoko Kusanagi.
Yes, but she's in the body of Mira Killian.
Yes, which is nobody.
Yes.
Major. Her name is Major.
She is a Caucasian robot.
She's a Caucasian robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. In universe, she's a Caucasian. And I mean, the people associated with the film made these excuses.
Right.
So I've got a quote from the producer from the time. He says, "There are all sorts of people and nationalities in the world in Ghosts in the Shell. We are utilizing people from all over the world. There's Japanese in it. There's Chinese in it. There's English in it. There's Americans in it. I don't think it was just a Japanese story. Ghost in the Shell was a very international story." I assume he means the original one, which I don't necessarily agree with. And it wasn't just focused on Japanese, it was supposed to be an entire world. That's why the international approach is, I think, the right approach to it. No, I don't.
No, that's not true.
It's just not true. I read I read an article called Ghost in the Shell, 4 Japanese actresses dissect the movie and its whitewashing twist.
Okay.
Published in April 2017. And they were asked about this, you know. What about the common defense of the movie is that it's incredibly diverse, that they asked these actors. And they replied, one of them replied, a bunch of the Asian people got killed.
Yeah.
She said, all the minor roles are Asians who didn't have lines, but all the core characters, except Beat Takeshi and the mother, are mainly white. Yeah. So I just absolutely, I just don't buy that. So now the film has a problem, a marketing problem.
Yeah.
This is attracting the wrong kind of buzz. We need to do something. They did a couple of things. One of the first things they did was hire Rila Fukushima.
Okay.
So she's a late addition to the project.
Okay.
That's why her name is
right there in the opening credits. Oh my god. Okay.
To say, look, more Japanese actors.
Yeah, right.
Even though she doesn't have any lines.
Yeah, she's only in one scene.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
Also, and this is even better, there was a very kind of like concerning rumor that they were considering using CGI to alter some of the actors to make them look Asian.
Whoa!
Paramount acknowledged that this was true.
Okay.
But said we were only going to do it on maybe some background actors. So some background actors...
That's even worse. You're not going to pay an Asian actor, you're going to pay a white actor?
Well, this was presumably films that were already shot, scenes that were already shot.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to pay...
You've got background actors who maybe... Like, just people in the background, allegedly.
Yeah.
However...
Okay.
That's probably not true.
Okay.
And the original source for this rumor said it was Scarlett Johansson herself that they had considered CGI altering to give Asian features.
Oh my god.
I have no trouble believing it, that they considered it.
Yeah, okay. But that wouldn't solve the problem. You would still have paid, instead of paying an Asian actress to play the role...
Yeah, but it's just so they don't know what the problem is.
And then it would ruin your whole reason you hired a bankable star in the first place.
Yeah, it would be like...
Crazy town. Absolute crazy town.
What is it? It'd be like taping up... It would be like giving Mickey Rooney false teeth in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
No way is that an improvement. I think it stinks of desperation.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But I reckon they probably plugged it in and had a crack at it. Before someone came to their senses.
Yeah. Oh my god. That would have been something else.
Yep. I agree. Interestingly, the Japanese actresses interviewed for that article, who watched the film and then answered those questions, they were Japanese American.
Okay.
Right. They were not Japanese actresses living and working in Japan. Interestingly, Japanese people don't seem to have had as much of a problem.
Right. That's typically the case.
Right.
I find.
Yes, including...
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Because they have different concerns. I mean, they're less concerned about the importance of the representation of marginal... So what is a marginalised community, Japanese or Asian actors in Hollywood are obviously not a marginalised community in the Japanese movie kind of like system. Yeah. So it seems to have been less of a concern, including for Mamoru Oshii himself, who stated on multiple occasions that he had absolutely no problem with it.
Yeah, I believe it. Absolutely.
In fact, I've got quotes. You know, this one's from May 2017. He was interviewed by IGN. What issue could there possibly be with casting her? He said by email. The Major is a cyborg, and her physical form is an entirely assumed one. The name Motoko Kusanagi and her current body are not her original name and body. Not sure that's true. But still, and there is no basis for saying that an Asian actress must portray her. Even if her original body, presuming such a thing existed, were a Japanese one, this would still apply. Okay, maybe. But then he goes on. In the movies, John Wayne can play Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
And Omar Sharif, an Arab, can play Dr. Zhivago, a Slav. It's all just cinematic conventions, he explained. No, you can't do that anymore.
No, that's right. That's right.
He goes, if that's not allowed, then Darth Vader probably shouldn't speak English either. I guess because he's an alien. I believe having Scarlett play Motoko was the best possible casting for this movie. I can only sense a political motive from the people opposing it, and I believe artistic expression must be free from politics. Yeah, sure. Yes, it is true. Of course it's a political reason. Yeah. But it's the correct political reason.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Incidentally, the actresses that were interviewed for the project are called Keiko Agena, Tracy Kato Kiria Atsuko Okatsuka, and Ai Yoshihara. And they were asked about, all these questions. They were less, they didn't believe it was so much it was about money than it was, they saw evidence just of the ongoing bias in favour of, like actors of a certain phenotype appearing in films. Kato Kiriyama said, if it was just about economics, they would have cast Michelle Yeoh or Zhang Ziyi like they did for Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah, right.
And just try to sell it to China.
Yeah.
Incidentally, this film didn't do well in China.
Yeah.
So
I believe the actor playing Togusa is Chinese.
Yeah, he is. Actually, Singaporean
right,
Chinese.
Okay, right.
And he's actually a little old for the role. I think he was 47 at the time.
Right.
Or maybe even older.
Yeah.
And he signed up because he was a fan of
Sure.
presumably the anime.
Sure.
Probably not the manga. I don't know if the manga has any fans. Yeah, so she said, I don't buy it when people say it's just money or economics. It's more than that. You're matching a certain desire as a white producer and director to this desire to please your shareholders and your investors.
Yes.
I think there's some truth there. I think there's a lot of truth in there.
Yeah. Was there something about Michael Wincott?
Just the reason why he's not credited and Fukushima is, despite him having lines and her not.
But he's not even in the end credits.
I know, it's strange that he's... The only reason I have is that I don't want to think they took him out so they would have one less European name. But the fact that Rila Fukushima gets so much prominence is to deal with this controversy.
Yes, right.
And I can't help but wonder if the reason why he isn't credited is to derail, some of this critique.
Right.
Incidentally, the Japanese American actors, when asked about the whitewashing, why Oshii and other Japanese people weren't bothered about it, they had some interesting things to say. Yoshihara said, "People in Japan worship white people," quote unquote. But then Kato Kiriyama says, even in the story, there are Japanese people involved in creating these beings. And they also may very well see the ideal human being as a white woman. So you're sort of messed up all the way around. Yeah. Yoshihara then said, and this is the reason why I brought this up, even my ex-boyfriend, who is Asian American, said, "What Asian lady has a body like Scarlett Johansson?" Yeah.
But one thing we didn't mention was the music, because in the opening credits, when we get the robot building, it's very bland compared to the original, and then they actually use that original 95 music over the end credits.
And
that was like, I felt like it was a cheap toy.
Yeah. Remember that band film?
You haven't earned that.
No. And it also just hammers home that this is not an adaptation of the manga, it's an adaptation of the anime.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other fun facts in there?
Just one.
Okay.
I know you love Australiana.
Okay.
Rupert Sanders, the director, is married to Alexandria Keating, who is the daughter of Paul Keating.
Where's Rupert Sanders from?
I think he's from America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. That's a weird connection.
Yeah, indeed. But, we just love an Australian Prime Minister and popping up in comic book movie oblivion.
Yes. It's been happening a lot lately. Okay, how are we going to... I think this is a really easy rate. It's such a nay on this blando cookie cutter movie.
Yeah, it's terrible. This movie's one of the worst we've done. I don't know what they were thinking. Like I said, this is just an absolute formulaic superhero movie, essentially, going through the motions and slapping a cyberpunk aesthetic on it.
Yeah. And stealing a few lines of themes from
anime. Well, if we talk about adaptation.
Yeah. Well, it's actually So
no, obviously.
It's really interesting because last week it was a yay for the adaptation because it had teased threads out of the manga.
Yeah.
This week we haven't gotten those teased threads out, so it's actually a bad adaptation.
100%. It's a bad adaptation of the manga. But what about as an adaptation of the anime?
It's a bad adaptation of the anime. Yes. It's missed all the points.
Absolutely.
It's missed the tone of the anime.
Yep.
The cerebrality of the anime.
Yep.
I just made that word up.
I got your meaning.
It's shocking. It's amazing to me when they make a movie that costs $120 million. Just take another 6 months, pay the writers another $50,000.
Give an 8th writer. That's what it needed. An 8th writer.
A writer who cares about these themes. I looked at these credits. That guy, the middle one, William whatever.
Wincott, yep.
His other credits are like the Lego Ninja Go movie or something like. Why are you getting this guy on the rewrite?
Yeah.
Talk to William Gibson. Ask him if he knows any screenwriters.
Where was Spielberg? He just said he loved Ghost in the Shell and then pissed off.
Do you know somebody that could write this, Mr. Spielberg? Can you recommend someone that knows about cyberpunk or cares about these themes about robotics and dehumanization? Can we hire one of those people to come in here? Somebody who's watched... Have you watched this anime? Did you like it?
That's the thing.
Just spend a bit more money. Don't worry about the cityscape so much.
That's it.
Just put the money in the writing.
That is the problem. We have something we've grafted images and whole sequences from the movie, from the anime, onto a completely different movie.
Yeah.
With a completely different story.
Yeah.
Adaptation is not mining the source material for parts like you're building a Frankenstein cyborg.
Yes.
That's not how you adapt something, It's supposed to be creative. We don't get any... I've used the word aping, parroting.
Yeah.
That to me, this is copying without any engaging with this is like a parrot literally repeating what it's heard when I watch this movie. It's terrible. It's pathetic. When you blend, when you take Kuze, why not make the villain the Puppet Master? Because we had to have the origin story. But in that case, why give the part of the Puppet Master's story and abilities to Kuze?
Yeah.
When you put them together like that, we learn nothing about either of them.
Yeah.
And he just becomes a complete cookie-cutter villain. Yeah. Or protagonist / antagonist. Because we're supposed to sympathise with him by the end of the movie. Terrible.
Right. Yep.
Now, I have a quote from Oshii on the film.
Okay.
Which kind of sums up some of what we just said.
Okay.
Right. So he said, if this is to be a remake of the anime, so he knew it was a remake of the anime, I don't think it's necessary to remain faithful to the way things were expressed in the anime. The director should exercise his directorial freedom as much as possible. If he doesn't do so, there would be no point in remaking it, he said. Then he was asked, what do you think is the most important aspect from your film that should be carried over then? And he said, to question what sort of society will be born from the close interaction of man and technology, and how that will transform human existence. Kumar, did the film do that?
No. And she was the first, which totally made it impossible to question that at all.
No, it's not about social change. It's just about what happened
to one person.
What did you do to me?
Yes.
What did the conspiracy do to me, the star?
Yeah.
Nay.
Yeah, big nay. So I think with our votes for the manga for last week, unfortunately that's a sextuple nay. But I do, I've acquired some fondness for the manga again after watching the movie this week, because at least it had like a vision of an artist in it, as kooky as it was.
It's the opposite of this committee-driven slop.
It was a weird, bizarre manga that was hard to read, but it was a person's vision. It was an artistic vision.
He loves spiders. He loves butts.
Yes, exactly.
And he loves...
Exactly.
He loves populist philosophy from the 40s and 50s.
That's right.
Yeah. There are nays and there are nays.
Yes, exactly. Okay, please like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to us. Please contact us through the email address in the show notes, or you can DM us through Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, or even comment on YouTube. All those links are in the show notes. And please join our Patreon at patreon.com/comicbookmovieoblivion, all one word, to help with things like hosting fees.
Yep.
Okay, so next week we'll do...
I hope everyone's ready for more Ghost in the Shell.
It'll be our final one. It'll be Innocence. So, Innocence was the sequel, so we're going back to the anime. It'll be our last Ghost in the Shell for sure. It's based on basically two stories from the manga. It's the Robot Rondo chapter and the Phantom Fund chapter. I can't remember which those were already, but it's supposed to be very loosely based on those things. I've only seen this movie once and didn't understand it because it didn't have subtitles. the time.
I've never seen it,
So it'll be.
and I want to, and that's pretty much why we're doing it.
Yes, exactly.
So enjoy, everybody.
All right.